Hello, my name is Taneisha, aka Art by TannyTizzle on Instagram, and welcome to 100 Stories Deep. Today I'm going to be doing a few poems for you by a few poets, and some are going to be in Patois. Patois is a dialect spoken in various Caribbean countries, if you didn't know, especially in Jamaica, and that's where I'm from. So the first poem I'm going to be doing is called Half Caste by Agard. You might be familiar with this poem because it's very popular in English classrooms. I remember studying it when I was at school, and this poem really cemented my curiosity to really want to venture out and start writing in patois. I was writing poems beforehand, but when I got to learn this poem, it really just cemented me wanting to write in patois myself. So, Half Caste by Agard. Excuse me, standing on one leg. I'm half caste. Explain yourself. What do you mean when you say half caste? You mean when Picasso mixed red and green is a half caste canvas? Explain yourself. What do you mean when you say half caste? You mean when light and shadow mix in the sky is a half caste weather? Well, in that case, England weather nearly always half caste. In fact, some of them cloud half caste till them overcast. So spiteful them don't want the sun pass their ass. Explain yourself. What you mean when you say half caste? You mean Tchaikovsky sit down at the piano and mix a black key with a white key is a half caste symphony? Explain yourself. What you mean? I listening to you with the key in half of my ear, looking at you with the key in half of my eye. And when I'm introduced to you, I'm sure you'll understand why I offer you half a hand. And when I sleep at night, I close half a eye. Consequently, when I dream half a dream. And when moon begin to glow, a half cast human being casts half a shadow. But you must come back tomorrow with the whole of your eye and the whole of your ear and the whole of your mind. And I will tell you the other half of my story. So, in that poem, Agard really just kinds of explore the terminology half caste and saying, well, if he's half caste, does that mean he's half of this and half of that? We don't really use this terminology anymore because it's not right. You know, someone's not half of this and half of that. So that's what he was questioning, that whole terminology. Anyways, so we're gonna move on to another poem, and this poem is by Maya Angelou. It's called Still I Rise. I chose to do this poem because for me this poem is saying, even if the world's against you, you know, there are ways to rise above it. There's always a way to rise above whatever trial and tribulation that you're facing. And that's why I really like this poem. It's a very popular poem again. So yeah, Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hope springing high, still I'll rise. Do you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders falling down like teardrops weakened by my false soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Do you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard? You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Okay, so that one, like I said, I really like that poem because, you know, even if you're down on under, it's just about having that much strength to rise above everything. And I think everyone has that in them, you know. It doesn't matter what situation you're facing, it all depends on your outlook on that situation, and you can rise above it. So it's a really, really brilliant poem. Okay, so the last poem, I printed it out, and this poem is by Mutya Baruka, and it's called This Poem. I really like this poem because of the way it's been written. Even though it's filled with loads of information, it still has a playfulness and that I really like about it, and I like the way that it's been written. I really like the style of it. So yeah, this one's called This Poem by Mutya Baruka. This poem shall speak of the wretched sea that washed ships to these shores, of mothers crying for their young swallowed up by the sea. This poem shall say nothing new. This poem shall speak of time, time unlimited, time undefined. This poem shall call names, names like Lumumba, Kenyatta, Nkrumah, Hannibal, Akhenaten, Malcolm, Garvey, Haile Selassie. This poem is vexed about apartheid, racism, fascism, the Ku Klux Klan riots in Brixton, Atlanta, Jim Jones. This poem is revolting against the First World, Second World, Third World division, man-made decision. This poem is like all the rest. This poem will not be amongst great literary works, will not be cited by poetry enthusiasts, will not be quoted by politicians nor men of religion. This poem is knives, bombs, guns, blood's fire, blazing for freedom. Yes, this poem is a drum, Ashanti, Mawa, Igbo, Yoruba, Nyabingi warriors, Uhuru, Namibia, Uhuru Soweto, Uhuru Africa. This poem will not change things. This poem needs to be changed. This poem is a rebirth of people, arising, awakening, understanding. This poem is speaking, have spoken. This poem shall continue even when poets have stopped writing. This poem shall survive you, me. It shall linger in history, in your mind, in time forever. This poem is time only time will tell. This poem is still not written. This poem has no poet. This poem is just part of the story, his story, her story, our story. The story still untold. This poem is now ringing, talking, irritating, making you want to stop it. But this poem will not stop. This poem is long, cannot be short. This poem cannot be tamed, cannot be blamed. The story is still not told about this poem. This poem is old, new. This poem was copied from the Bible, your prayer books, Playboy magazine, the New York Times Reader's Digest, the CIA files, the KGB files. This poem is no secret. This poem shall be called boring, stupid, senseless. This poem is watching you trying to make sense of this poem. This poem is messing up your brains, making you want to stop listening to this poem. But you shall not stop listening to this poem. You need to know what will be said next in this poem. This poem shall disappoint you because this poem is to be continued in your mind, in your mind, in your mind, in your mind. Okay, so that was This Poem by Mutya Baruka, and like I said, I really like the writing style of that poem. It was fun to listen to when I first heard it, but it also very insightful and make you really think. And I like poems that tells the truth, the hard truth, but at the same time balances it out with a bit of humor. So yeah, those are my poems that I've chosen to share with you guys as a contribution to this 100 Stories Deep project that the Gap's got going. It's a great project, and you know, check out all the other stories, and thank you for listening.